Hi, friend. I am so excited that you're here to check out Her Restored Spirit podcast. If you've gone through something that has left you broken-spirited, maybe it's a divorce, loss of a spouse, or even a child, loss of a job, whatever it is, I know there is restoration in your future. I'm a widowed mom, and I remember what it feels like to emerge from the fog to discover that my loss is not the center of my story, but it actually instilled in me a new hope, a new understanding of faith, and a new strengthening in my heart, soul, and motherhood. I have finally understood that God has taken my test and formed it into my testimony, and that's why I'm here with you. I want you to step into your purpose, into a newfound joy, and to turn a new page in your book, because I believe you are on the brink of full restoration, unlocking a confidence that you didn't know was inside you, and understanding how to live more fruitfully with purpose, joy, and permission to be washed in possibility. It's time, friend, to reclaim your restored spirit. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Her Restored Spirit podcast. My name is Tami, and I am your host. Before we jump into what I had planned for today, I just wanted to give you a little bit more about me. I realized that in episode 1, I told you about my story. I told you why my heart needed the restoration, what started my journey towards a restored spirit. And I didn't really mention the path that it led to after, like what I've been doing over the last couple of years to really gain the insight and the clarity and to move forward into what I truly believe my purpose and calling is. And so I just wanted to take a few moments to share a little bit more about me and what I'm doing now. So I mentioned that I went to Auburn and I was in the Air Force, and I got out right after I had my son. And I also, while I was in the Air Force, I earned an MBA. But I knew that business wasn't the right fit yet. And so I became a stay-at-home mom, hardest job that I have ever really experienced, and also the most rewarding. But I also knew that wasn't the right fit either. I knew that there was something else. There's some other calling. And soon after my husband died, I realized that I still had this need to help people. I had the need to help people on the journey of their pain journey as well. I had decided that I wanted to become a therapist. I looked into different programs and decided on a marriage and family therapy program. I knew that families and the whole person really was what I wanted to work with. And so in 2013, I started that journey and became a therapist. During the time we have internships, we work with different people. I was a middle school and high school therapist for the most part. I worked with the families of the students that I worked with as well. And I also worked with adults, but I focused mainly on a middle school and high school age group. And I've been doing that since 2013, and I absolutely loved it. But I knew that also was that was the right path, but it was the wrong focus, if that makes sense. In 2019, I had a friend, a mentor, who actually told me about her journey, and she introduced me to the idea of coaching. And she had done something similar, switched from therapy and into coaching. And early last year, that's what I decided to do. I decided to completely shift and release my therapy focus and walk straight towards coaching. And I opened my business doors just over a year ago. And so I've been doing that for the last year, and I have absolutely loved it. Everything that I've worked towards in my life, everything that I've done, it kind of all fit under this one umbrella, which is pretty awesome. You know, the MBA has helped me with the business side. The therapy has helped me be a better coach and understand what it means to active listen and to work with people who have been through different traumas and understand how the brain works. I absolutely love studying the brain. I know that sounds weird, but truthfully, if I understand the how behind the why, then I feel like I can work through it and I can, okay, if I know that this is what's happening inside my brain, then now I know how to address it and I know how to work with it. And the fact that just a thought, one tiny thought can change the physical chemistry of your brain is so fascinating to me. And I will tell you more and more throughout this podcast, you're going to start hearing little tidbits. I'm not a brain expert, um, but I do study it a lot and I find it fascinating. So you're going to get little information about the brain and how it works as well. And I hope that you find it as fascinating as I do. But so that leads me up to now. That's what I've been doing. That is how I've worked towards restoring my spirit and giving my life purpose and meaning and doing a lot of hard work, a lot of soul searching. One thing that I did not realize when you are going through your master courses to become a therapist, you are your first client and you have to do a lot of self work, and you do self work in front of your cohort, like in front of your classmates, and they push you and you push you and you push them. And the experience of working on that has really changed my life and um, helped me become who I am today. And so if you like to find out more about my coaching practice, feel free to check out TamiMarieCoaching.com, or reach out to me at, Tami at TamiMarie.com for email, or on Facebook or Instagram at Tami Marie Coaching. I would love to hear from you. So now on to our topic for today, Unstuck. Let's do it. So there's many reasons why we are allowing ourselves to get stuck. A lot of times it's a slow fade and we don't even realize that we're in this perpetual fear, or this perpetual state of, I don't know what to do or what my next step is. And so what I want to pose for you is, I just want to give you some questions. Now, there are so many reasons that we allow ourselves to slip into this stuck feeling. Fear being one of them, life circumstances, kids, family, work. We just kind of get into the mundane of doing life, get into the rut of everything just is the same. You do the same thing every day. You have your same patterns. And then one day you realize, wow, like, how did I get here? And how do I move forward? And so being stuck is not even a one and done thing. Like, there are so many times that I'm like, man, I just found myself in a place of being stuck again. The key to this, though, is to identify it and take intentional steps to get out. So what I'd like to pose for you is some intentional questions you can ask yourself that will help you, like, identify where you're stuck and how to do something about it. And so what I'm going to do is just using the word unstuck. So UNSTUCK. You understand. Where are you right now? In what area do you feel stuck? So just take a moment to understand your present state. Don't worry about what you want for the future, what it needs, what's happening. Really just understand what is going on in my heart and in my soul and in my body right now. The second step is, or the second letter is N. Negotiate with yourself. So what have I done in the past that has helped? What am I willing to do right now? Take an inventory, change perspectives, talk to a friend, talk to a therapist, talk to a coach. Just talk with yourself and say, am I ready? Am I willing? And can I do what it takes to step forward and to get myself out of this rut? S, seek what's next. So what is the one thing that I could do right now to make a positive move forward? Is there an area in your life where you feel stuck and that is being overshadowed by another area? The idea of balance is so hard because life balance does not mean everything's equal. Any human, especially if you have kids, you know that different seasons require different focuses and different energy levels and different priorities. And so sometimes one area of our life we have to put so much energy into it, whether it's our health, whether it's our job, whether it's our family, that other areas we kind of slip into this status quo and just keep it the way it is. But truthfully, we need to intentionally pour into every area of our life. None of them just happen to stay full. Like none of those hats stay on your head. None of those cups are being filled unless you intentionally fill them. And so by seeking what's next and asking yourself, okay, right now my work needs my attention. So, and I see that it's being overshadowed by this lack of family time. It doesn't change the fact that your work needs your attention, but now you can be intentional and you can be specific about how you spend your family time. The next letter is T. Time block your goals. So when can I set aside time to work on this? Put time on your schedule, your calendar, your daily plan, however you lay out your time. Lay it out and specifically give yourself permission to work on what's making you stuck. So as you've looked before at, what area of your life has been overshadowed and that you really need to pour some time into. And so use that as a way to say, okay, if I add more family time in, what would that look like? Put time on your calendar to actually give yourself that space to discover what that could mean. Next is uncover. So as you ask the previous questions, you ask, the understanding question of what do I need right now? And what area do I feel stuck? You've negotiated with yourself and asked, like, what have I done in the past that has helped? And what am I willing to do right now? You sought out what's next, and you can, and look at the different areas of your life that really need attention. You've put time on your calendar to really discover what the possibilities could be. And now you're uncovering what your heart is telling you. So many times we know the next step, but we're afraid to really admit it. We're afraid to write it down. We're afraid to speak it out loud or tell somebody because it might be just too much or too vulnerable, or in our minds, it might be asking too much of us, but that's okay. So uncover that. Be willing to just listen to your heart and what it's telling you. Many times the key to getting unstuck is sitting right below the surface, and we just have to admit it to ourselves. So after you've done that, the C is just check in with yourself. How am I feeling about this? Have I discovered anything new about this season? And what are my immediate needs? At this time, it might be a good idea to go back through again, understand, and those questions to say, okay, now with this new information, this new enlightenment or ideas, what do I want now? What are my immediate needs? What are my motivations? What can I do to take care of myself? And have I made myself a priority? We feel stuck, and so we work externally. We go and we do because we see productivity. We see that we're making a difference. But then at the end of the day, we still have that feeling of, now what? I mean, that was great. It was fulfilling, but I'm still stuck in this feeling, this rut of what's next. And so after you check in with yourself, then it's time for K. Kick fear aside and just do it. So what is the best thing that could happen if I did one small thing that I was considering? What's one small step towards that idea that I discovered, that dream I discovered, or what is the best thing that could happen if I put myself first? If I just did a little something for myself in each of these categories, in each my life wheel balance. By taking that moment to ask yourself what's the best thing that could happen, you're actually putting the possibility of positive energy into your mind. So we rarely focus on the good things that could happen. Our brains typically go to the negative what ifs. It's a protection mode. Our brain was designed to protect us. So it's going to do whatever keeps us in the most safe position, in the most safe action, which typically is the action of fear and being stuck. Our brains want us to stay where we are because we know where we are. This comfortable fear that we're feeling at this moment is a lot safer than this huge what if or possibility that's facing in front of us. Even if it's not life changing, our brains really can't differentiate between like real threats, real actual hurt you physically threats, and the potential of threats. The made up stories we tell our brains, the things that because of the unknown, it's basically our brains are acting like there's a saber-toothed tiger about to attack us, even if we're just trying to decide if we're going to tell somebody we're sorry or not. So it's that fear that keeps us in this immobilized state because it's safe. That comfortable fear keeps us safe. Actually not serving us in any way. So we need to identify it. We need to ask ourselves those positive growth mindset questions, like what's the best thing that could happen? Or if I just did this one small thing, how would my life be different? And how would it benefit me tomorrow if I stepped out today? How will my future self thank me if I take this small step that may be a little scary, a little unknown, but if you do it a little bit by little bit, then it leads to bigger things. So the K, kick fear aside and just do it. It's a choice. You just have to make that determination that it's worth it to try something different. And again, if you fail, or even if it's perceived failure, what did you learn from the experience? And even if you moved forward and you failed, you're still in a different position that you were than when you started. You know a different route now. You know what doesn't work. So even with that, you have more information on what will get you out of this rut. So one thing that I tell my clients, and I have to tell myself, is if nothing changes, nothing will ever change. So it seems like common sense, but so many times I have to remind myself, if I don't start working towards the change I want, I will never get the change that I need. And so you don't have to have all the answers, but what you need to do is you just decide that your future is worth it, and then make one tiny change today. And then do one small thing tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next day. And then all of a sudden you have the habit of just stepping out a little bit further. You don't know if it's the right direction until after you make the choice and do it. Clarity comes from action. You can sit and you can ponder it, but until you start putting your feet in action, your money where your mouth is, you're never actually going to see if that clarity that you are searching for is the right path. So as you decide, as you go through all of these, the unstuck questions, and you can use these for anything. You can use these at any time. Anytime you start feeling like, oh, I'm in that cycle again, just sit back and ask yourself one or more of these. But I guarantee or I promise that if you take the time to ask yourself these questions and truly answer them, something inside of you will change. Even if it is just looking forward to different options or uncovering what needs you have in this moment, it will start the process of getting you unstuck. And then just start taking the action to move yourself out of that position and just do it. That's the only answer I have is figure it out and then do it, and give yourself grace if you didn't do the right thing. That part was the hardest for me. Is I want to get it right. I want to do the right thing. But I realized that if I don't do the wrong thing every once in a while, then I'll never really know what the right thing was. Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 3. I would love to connect with you. I've mentioned it before. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Tami Marie Coaching. That's one area that I am getting unstuck, and I will start showing up there more often, and I'm hoping to see you there as well. Send me a message. I will respond to every message I get, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you. And I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.